we get the same. So we won't be.
Are we live? Yes, it looks like we are. In that case, welcome everybody to our meeting with the Waynesboro Advocacy Committee of the Virginia Museum of Natural History, together with the Foundation's subcommittee on Waynesboro. We did have a board meeting recently, and I just wanted to share that the report from our committee went into a consent agenda and was received well. One thing that came up a couple things that came up I thought would be worth mentioning during the board meeting, an update on the trailer and an opportunity, I think, to rebrand our trailer. We can start thinking about names. Maybe when we get to that part of our agenda, if you have a good name in mind, it is no longer mobile. That's one reason. It's a mobile trailer. And we don't want to call it the immobile trailer. So let's call it something else. The other thing was that Carol Nash brought up that Wintergreen Resort is developing exhibits and hoping to work with the museum, and maybe there's an opportunity for us to engage with the Wintergreen community at the same time as we're doing our Waynesboro advocacy. So,
does the Wintergreen still have their nature group up there?
I don't know enough details about it. I think one thing we might try to do is arrange with Carol if this actually. But let's just move on forward in our agenda, then we can talk about that and maybe in our open discussion a little bit. I just wanted to bring those couple of items from our board meeting that we had last month. First agenda item is our approval of the November minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? I'll move it. All right, it's been moved to be approved. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Maggie. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. So let's move to community connections. Then, Joe, we're starting, I guess, with the lecture series. We did have a lecture last month.
Yeah, so I could not make it to that one, but it went really well. That was John Ross. And it was nice to have that connection with Veterans Day, as well as to have a different speaker with a different angle on things, talking about the basically the meteorology behind the planning of the D-Day invasion. So while it might not have been directly connected to us, it was from a guy who's done a lot of work in this area. So I think it was a nice, I don't want to use the word spin, it was just a different angle. And so if you are thinking outside the box for a future lecture series speaker, I think that's a good example that leads the way.
Kudos to the Fishburne Honor Guard.
Yeah, great.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah. I wasn't able to attend in person either. I was able to watch online. One complaint that I did hear was that some of the slides were a little illegible.
That was probably because of the sheet that the white deer had laid on top of the sheet. And I heard a few mumblings behind me, people going, I don't know if I can read that because it was big, waves.
Oh, okay. So,
it wasn't
John's slide. It was projection.
Yeah. Well, not the projection, but they must have written. Yeah, they were probably set up for some production.
And if I'm correct, we don't have one for this month. We take December off, but we'll have one in January.
Yeah, we have Jonathan here who can, well, he was here. Oh no, there they are. They're over there on the right. Hi, everybody. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so you might jump in with a few other details here, but we did ship the trailer off, as you've noticed. The proposed work falls within our maintenance reserve budget, so that's good. There isn't a lot that they're going to do to it. They're going to fix up some of the aesthetics. They're going to give the HVAC a tune-up. But as far as the actual like hydraulics and the functioning of the slide, and even the quality of the frame that it sits on, they're basically saying it's going to cost more to fix or replace than it would be to start a new trailer from scratch. So just for numbers' sake, again, Jonathan can update me if I'm off here, but it's so I think it's in the low 60s, which again is gonna fit our budget. But almost half of that is actually the wraps. So if we're gonna rebrand it, let's get it right. You know, what we're gonna call it. So we can leave it again. We can bring it back later this spring as a fully functional immobile unit. So we basically have a place with some exhibits. We can do some programming. I can work with Dwayne to see about getting it hooked up to the power pole. So that way when we have programming out there, we don't have to worry about running a drop cord to the farmer's market and whatnot. So, and just, I mean, just because we covered all the bases, it would cost us about 3,000 to scrap it. Right, so just so you know what the board members know what we're dealing with here, but parallel.
About 10,000 for the scrapyard.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll need to budget for the future is 10,000 to move it off the lot and scrap it if we want to do that, right? So that's not a conversation we have to have now, but yeah, that's just what we have, right? It's what we started with. So, so again, the idea is we go ahead and give them the go ahead to start the rehab and the rewrap and everything like that. I don't think it's a bad investment of money because it is something that we can capture hundreds, if not multiple thousands of people every year, really support the, 2 or 3 city festivals that we complement and so forth. So from an operational standpoint, the staff is ready to get back behind it. Right, but I would also like the committee's input on that.
Well, from my perspective, there hasn't been any effort that we've done in Waynesboro that's gotten as much attention and has allowed us to get the word out as well as that in whatever shape. So it's incredibly useful and productive. And it'll be more useful when it's air conditioning. That would be great. I don't know if your volunteers will be. But I've manned it quite a bit, and the people that come through there is really interesting, and it's good numbers,
I will say the open doors are really welcoming and make people feel good. So
Yeah. The only time they use the AC, I think, is those little hot days in the middle of July. For the most part, the breeze going through is pretty nice, and the doors are definitely vinyl. Very barksome, because I'm barksome.
An opening sign, beyond open sign.
Got a big
Not that expensive.
Well, we got a big flag that we put up, and then there's a sandwich board that we set up right in the walkway. And the flag actually gets on.
And putting it out there at the right times, like the farmer's market, or
The farmer's market,
that kind of thing, when people are there anyway.
farmer's market's that's very good.
You might want to think about possibly reorienting the location or
Yes.
changing it a little bit to make it a little friendlier to farmers market as well as activities and Riverfest, where it does have an opportunity to get a huge amount of traffic. And the way we face it is facing away from those venues. So you may want to talk to Wayne about an alternate location,
Turning around facing the river.
perhaps. And I mean, you got greenway traffic, which would make it a little more visible and get a little bit closer to the power supply, which may make it a little less expensive to get power to it.
Well, the challenge with, if you're gonna put, the problem that we've been had this summer, we've had been several times, like towards the end, every week, there wasn't enough outlets, all the vendors stuff like that. There are a lot of powerful, unless you put a new power source in it.
There is a new power source there.
It's locked, they lock it.
There's a pole right there, and Glenn said there should be a problem putting into it. But that's the location it was at. The proposal right now would be to put it roughly in the same location except up on the asphalt. That was the operator. I don't know what it was. Sorry, that's how I feel. So that would be close to the power pole. Where were you thinking, Herb?
Well, I hadn't really given it a lot of thought.
Okay.
Just, this is all news to me. I'll have to go over there and look around and also talk to Wayne about where it might be.
Where the apartments of, how it was set up with the orientation, which is at the back of it facing Broad Street, it's facing the, if you look at it from Main Street, or the farmer's market, or the parking lot, it's looking straight out.
And where, that was the secondary location.
Yeah.
I think that. Like you're talking about 90 degrees.
Yeah.
It will be more accessible to people who have to get around. I think to get to that one, you almost have to go down a little bit
Yep.
and then come back up. And that's really hard for somebody
Oh,
who's
yeah.
using a walker or.
Yeah, we're not gonna put it back on there. So yeah, perpendicular, back up with the Broad Street, so it's facing the farmer's market, further away from the tower, not by much. Right. That was a secondary location we looked at first time. I believe that's true. Yeah. So kind of under the trees, it's still out of the construction, zone. We could put it in that corner. Yeah, we can do that. I'll start by talking with Dwayne so we can solidify some plans. I don't know, since the power source is if you're facing the trailer, it's on the left end. I don't know if that makes any difference in terms of logistics of getting it to a particular pole, but I would like to get some information on that, and then that will help us determine which orientation it should have. One record.
Or maybe if they're doing electrical in there anyway, maybe they can allow it to be plugged in on their end or something. If you're doing a 240 volt this kind of thing, you're gonna kick right into the power box.
Apparently that's already possible.
Yeah, but it was like 240 volt.
You're asking the wrong guy.
It's the plug with the 3 prongs, little hooks on them, with the extra power.
No, when I plugged it in, it went to a generator, so I had those 5 color-coded.
Right, that was the generator.
Right.
You can bypass that.
Right.
And actually feed right into the built-in blanket.
And that's what I understand. I don't know how it works, but,
But it'll probably be, it's gonna be a 240 volt. Which I don't know if there might be one of those over at the property. I never seen it.
someone can figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is logistics that can be handled.
I just had,
Oh, yeah, no.
I just had 2 other questions. One is whether or not there are jacks to level it. Does it
Yes.
get, okay, so it can be leveled there even if the pavement were tilted some. And then is it possible to put a skirt around it?
Oh, yeah,
We
no,
cover
we can doctor it up, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
You know, the leveling, we got bad information somehow. We thought it could only be done by the hydraulics. But we did find, as we cleaned up the trailer, we found all the manual stuff. So you can put a crank on it and you can actually move it around. So that was bogus information. The skirt is just aesthetic.
Yeah, but I think that would be nice aesthetically, and maybe we could have a matchwork with the wrap end. I'd like to see something other than a black wrap, honestly. Something maybe more mountains or something.
I think it's something that, I mean, if it's gonna be sitting there, let's put the preliminary, the design that's gonna approve, something like that. So that would be cool. Yeah, I mean, let's use what we got and promote this. You know, make it big, you know, and attractive, you know, and. You know, it's coming soon to May range.
When we get to that point, I will charge our new design person. We can have a special Zoom for those who want to participate, and then she can get fed ideas about what it should look like. And like I have to admit, I will be perfectly. The staff on the other end, you put your fingers in your ears at this point. So the last wrap design was meant to be higher, so there's going to be more river, more fish, and not all this brown, right? And I told the existing staffer to go and measure it, right? And she refused. She says, "I've got the things right here." I said, "Don't go get first-hand measurements." She decided not to do it, and they went and wrapped it, and most of the fish died. So we're not gonna have it.
Okay.
You know, one thing the dialogue that we use in the trailer is this museum is gonna be focused on the local ecosystem.
Yeah.
So something on that design that tells that story, that illustrates that with the building, I think would be the building.
All right. And I'm also thinking something like that for the name. We're gonna rebrand it, a name that suggests it's the Blue Ridge or Shenandoah Valley or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Something in the name that actually suggests place.
We'll have that exercise probably sooner rather than later. We are gonna go ahead and go for it. Jonathan, when we're off this call here, we'll give him the invite. So all that said, I will underscore that by saying what I tell everyone is we're going full all of our stores, draw a 50-mile radius circle around Waynesboro, and that should give you an idea of where all our stores are pulled from. So something with the building and that message, the local message, that would pretty much work.
Yeah, I don't know what name has cachet, but we can have a group on that.
The miracle that shall go about.
Perfect.
I mean, you tell, when I show people, especially kids, that specimen, that's what you're standing on.
Yeah.
But, when you think about how the valley got created, it's miraculous.
Yeah.
And people get fascinated with that. That's the thing, like, we need a sizzle.
Any other questions about the trailer? Comments? All right, events is on here. We haven't gone for that. We did participate in some events. I'm not sure that was recent, but
Yeah, I think we reported on fall foliage. We do have a date for, and of course, I'm unprepared. We do have a date for both the museum rodeo in May and Riverfest both fall in May. I think it's the first Saturday in May for Riverfest, and then later on for museum rodeo.
That's correct for Riverfest.
Yeah,
I
for some,
don't know.
the Arts Festival, when that's.
Okay.
In the trailer back.
That's what they have marching orders for. That was part of the request. What can we do? And of course, it's a much simpler job. Rapid take.
interpretive signage.
We're all in agreement. We just started our new exhibit design. Our new exhibits manager. She's aware of the project. I have not gotten her from Waynesboro yet. She has, I think, about 10 days under her belt. So the first thing we're going to do is to take Tom's idea of the mountaintop finder signs, and maybe we have 3 or so signs up at Sunset Park. We spoke with Stephanie Seltzer about that. There's a lot of agreement that will work. We'll still have money that when that's done, that we can go back down to South River Preserve, and I would mind seeing same kind of sign design that we already have going, but extended closer to the museum lot. So that's what we stand with.
One of the signs ought to be a directional sign that says museum this direction.
Wow, that's a great
That is
idea.
a great idea.
Well, we can hold that to we can leave a spot specific for that, and then because it can show where the farmers market is, where the museum is, is there a map of the greenway out there? I don't remember if there's one.
There is, yeah.
It's on the kiosks at the either end.
Yeah.
YMCA and has one.
That's right. That's
Plus
right.
there's one right above the bridge. There's a, there, I think there is.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, by the.
We'll do
by
something
the-
else, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
anything else about interpretive signage?
I think we did.
Okay, so the General Assembly and advocacy part of our agenda here. We're waiting, obviously, for the governor to release his proposed budget. Expect that to be middle of this month. And then whether or not we have a line item for the capital outlay is obviously high interest. And then we have some suggestions from McGuire Woods on a path forward either way. One without the governor's proposed budget, including us, and one with. So, Joe, do you want to share? Or did everybody receive that?
No, I just forwarded to give you guys
Okay.
a chance to look at. I'm happy to walk through at a high level, and I can pass this around. And if anyone wants any of this, by the way, just back up, and I've made a couple of hard copies. Mr. Bryant did give us sort of a detailed analysis of what McGuire Woods sees as the state budget. So there are copies here if anyone would like it, or if you want to circulate. It's really fascinating.
Is that the Senate committee?
Yes.
20 pages.
Yeah.
Very detailed, looking forward to what's going to happen. And there are, as best they can read the feelings. Yeah.
And there are a couple of interesting things in there. One I don't understand, and basically it's a statement that says that mandatory costs costs will exceed available revenues, but there's no explanations on what to do about that. Right? There's also the statement that at the start of the budgeting period, there should be $1.24 billion in funds, the vast majority of which is a one-time spend only. And so, all that said, we also have to wait and see that when Governor Youngkin releases his budget, it's almost a given that the incoming administration will begin to tear it apart. How that changes those numbers, I think. But the positive thing is that if there is a will, there is supposedly going to be one-time spend cash, far in excess of a $35 million. So,
But the two numbers, I think that I from there on, other than the challenges, on the other side, is that $900 million worth of capital projects and grants that haven't been funded at all. And I think it was $8 billion in deferred maintenance. It was billing like that, so that got
the deferred maintenance is something I've been hearing about
for years.
Yeah, and I know Governor Youngkin wanted to address some of that. I honestly don't know how much he did. I think he got some of it, but how much of it he got and how much he whittled that down, I'm not sure.
But that was the justification for not funding any bills like the last 2 years. When his first budget.
Yeah.
And I would assume that in his new budget, it's going to be the same thing, basically. And then there was the issue with how they got there, which was the way that he paid Peter to pay, Peter to pay Paul, which diverted all this stuff. What's the challenge? I think we gotta figure out how to just say, ignoring all that, I mean, it sounds simple, but just simply ignoring all that, you gotta fund this.
Well, that's what this plan that Mr. Brian provided us should do. I mean, I agree with him that it's going to be a tough haul for this biennial budget, but the only way to guarantee anything is to basically not try, right? To not ask, right? So the second thing is that he says that it's important that we keep the museum elevated in the eyes of people who want to be successful, if not this budget, but future budget. So basically what he's suggesting is that this month, myself and the museum team will be providing him with an updated report on all of the museum documents relating to budget, mission, renderings, and so forth. They are going to develop some briefing materials that will help us. Then he has a schedule of what we should do when, in terms of any kind of advocacy, who we should talk to, whether it is a local delegation or specifically Waynesboro UVA and so forth. And again, I don't want to put words in Greg's mouth, but technically the city is the one that's hiring the Guard Woods.
But at the science talk, I handed out legislative contact information for Albemarle and the local governments. And it suggested to everybody that if they wanted to advocate, that they should send letters to those legislators, ask them if they funded it. So that's still the concept. We want to, try to help Ellen get some support from the Democrats and that sort of thing.
I think what we ought to do is take Preston's lead on this. So starting in January, I think one of the key things is that he's specifically saying that Waterwood is going to do behind the scenes work with the House Appropriations Committee, the Senate Finance Appropriations Committee, and is going to arrange for a legislative budget amendment introduction, and they'll be offering those adjustments, right, for submission. So anything that we can do to, boost the confidence of our local champions is going to be positive enough. They'll be handed particular adjustment.
So we've worked with Alan Campbell, worked with Senator Pablo Creed and Formula. And you want the family operation to do it. Maybe we should start talking to them. We start having a conversation.
let me run that by him. I just want to make sure it doesn't contradict anything that he's got in here, but, certainly all the packaging that, the package that we're gonna submit to Preston, so he has everything updated, we can submit to them, plus, a synopsis, you know, we do have an updated synopsis. Did Megan get that?
We're working on that.
Okay, cool. So we'll have that available.
Is Creek Beats the chair of the Senate?
Who knows?
He was on it, but it's all going to change.
Yes.
What was going on?
I did notice Katrina Carlson is having like an open house before the General Assembly session starts, so I don't know if anybody is in her district. She'd be Crozet and Albemarle County and a good part of Charlottesville as well, I think. So for somebody who, you know, it's their representative, it'd be good to have them actually go and talk to her and maybe bring something to us.
No, John Lyles is over there.
Yep. I can mention it to John.
And then we get to the open discussion.
And that, I think this is a good time of year to be watching for that because a lot of our delegates and representatives are holding these open houses to hear from their constituents before the vote. So I've gone to the one which one many times. He knows who I am. So he knows why I come.
And I think it's important for these Crozet representatives to understand how many people from Crozet have come through the vote. I'm telling you, it's 30–40% easily. And they're coming over here to the farm, and they're very excited. Very,
Oh, they shop.
yeah.
They hit Corvo, maybe
Yeah.
Martin.
Yeah.
That's
Well, they
what
name
I'm
the farm.
Target and Corvo's going.
Yeah. So I think it's important that, I mean, a lot of their constituents are aware of this.
When you publish who to write to, are you gonna include those people in it? Because I used to run into people in the trailer saying, but I don't live here. Well, it doesn't matter if you live in Virginia,
Yeah.
tell whoever support.
They should be writing to their,
Right, that's what I said, tell whoever your person is,
yes.
but we didn't have information to give them, a lot of them.
I did a sheet that's got 6 of them. Everybody, Nelson County, Albemarle, Hartford, Arkansas, Augusta. So, you know, it's like 6 of them. 6, and it says delegate in the center, which district they're in, which counties they represent, and their opposite. That's, and Jenna's got a stack of them now, because I don't think anybody picked them out going out the door. That's what keeping them in them out.
Will you send them to me?
Yeah, I'll send it out.
One thought, the new governor got a transition thing.
Yeah, I've got that list.
And you got it?
I do.
Good, because the chief of staff and whoever's gonna do her environmental side needs to get something on this between their teeth at some point.
I,
Not the politics involved with it. These are ongoing projects that are on the state lines.
when John came down for this talk with dinner, I gave him a copy of it. I didn't know anybody, but I asked him to advocate for whoever's up. And recently he told me he was gonna get a whole week to talk about what he's looking for something. I think that's important. He didn't recognize any names. What I noticed from that transition team is heavily weighted to healthcare, people from healthcare, people from real estate. And I think there was one, and they were, you know, some were connected to the Washington stuff. But it was like almost all of them coming out of those areas.
And you say you have a list of,
I do.
you said that, because
I'll do that.
I'm gonna,
Did you get the last one?
huh?
Did you get
Yeah,
the
that's
last one?
okay. I've got a, I know it's in the lobby, but
Okay.
I'd be interested in talking about some of these people.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna, don't worry, I'm not gonna get us in, but just find out who he knows, because there may be some utility in that.
If you get, if John will agree to go to the, was there calls for calls? I'd be happy to join for that, but also, I'm doing a tour. I wish I had it on. There's a facility that I think would complementary to called Host Legacy Equine Rescue. I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
so I had lunch with the director last week. I've never been in the facility, but open invitation, but I think a lot of people who would support this will also support the museum and vice versa.
we're both in agreement with that, so. Mhm.
My daughter worked there.
Oh, yeah?
She knows everybody in the club.
Okay, cool. I have to,
There's money in the horses.
Oh, there is big money, yeah.
If you're riding that salary. The other thing is Wintergreen. I mean, those Wintergreen and Jose, those are two really constituents that are very much interested in this and have come through that trail. I believe that we need to approve.
anything else about the pre-legislative advocacy? Because that's the thing we've talked about so far. Once we get into the legislative session, I guess we'll know whether or not we're advocating for a budget amendment. So the proposed budget is through as it is.
If I have any luck, do I get this guy in touch with you or go?
Probably better not, well, I don't know.
I was just gonna quarterback it out, so
Yeah,
I really.
you can just share information, you can't be an advocate.
Well, that's what I'm asking the question. I don't want to get in the soup here. First of all, this is a long shot, but second, we don't want to go down the wrong road.
Right. I don't know, just copy both of us, I guess.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. There's a couple contacts that I have too that I won't mention in the public meeting that I think I'll follow up on. And I'd like to get the updated version of whatever you guys have put together to share that I've already sent out on, but get the changes.
We're gonna switch the focus to more presentation.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a great idea, given what we're seeing in the transition team composition. Right? So I guess, do we hold the discussion about what we do in the legislative session until after we know what the,
I think we're kind of.
yeah, we're stuck there right now.
Yeah.
So we'll meet early in January at that point, certainly. I guess we might have some plans to go out and I know I'll be in Richmond, so,
Our next meeting will be January 5th.
okay. Then I guess we're on open discussion. So did you want to say more about what I did? Okay.
So, so there was a nature conservancy out there, and this fella, he was like the nurse practitioner of my neurosurgeon, whose dad or parents were the ones that John referred to when we had that event at Carmel. It was his, it was his parents, and apparently they're like the king of the ring. And they're very engaged in that, very interested in the project as they are. That Wintergreen Conservancy is big money. And I forget what this guy did. He said that he's got the purse strings of all of those people. So I don't remember the name. I have to go back. Look at it. He was really interested in getting big. My parents are ready to do this. And the Wintergreen Nature Conservancy was a pretty decent nonprofit. They had an executive director here, but I don't think they funded them further. I actually met with them once 1 year ago, 2 years ago. But it still exists. There could be a really good opportunity for collaboration there. Because if I remember right, they just couldn't sustain the paid staff.
Well, if you could knock on a door, me and the team, we're happy to come up, pick you up. At Uber.
Well, and as I said, Carol mentioned it in the board meeting, I don't know if she wants to follow up. And I was wondering if there's an opportunity to go over and do it. Yeah.
Who's Carol talking to there?
There's a new person on their science committee. And I don't remember the specifics. I have it in my notes from the board meeting. That she said was very interested in collaborating with JMU and the Springfield project. So I think I just need to have a conversation.
Yeah, let's coordinate. I'll reach out to John to pick our name up.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else for open discussion? Kirby?
So there's a new executive director at the Wallets.
Yes.
You know, and I had been meaning to, I didn't have have done, to get over there and introduce myself to her and give her an update on where, museum concept and further on and see if we could get some support. They have a very diverse and large support network. That thing is well funded, and they should be a major partner in this, in my opinion. I don't know what her attitude might be about that, but we certainly need to explore that, because they could bring a lot of influence to the table, I think, because they have people that support that thing from a very, very large geographic area, out of state, in state. And so it's something we really need to focus a little time and directly and how they might help us bring this into.
What was Ed's opinion?
I'm sorry?
What was Ed's opinion, you know?
Ed was supportive,
Right.
but I think his life has been that college, and I think he was getting ready to retire, phase out. And, he really didn't do anything material that I know of to help us out.
Just to bring up a 10-year-old conversation, sorry, thanks, Mel. That in our discussion with the Wildlife Center of Virginia, so you go back in time, they used to bring animal ambassadors to classrooms, and then funding, field trips, etc., begin to go away due to funding shortages and so forth. And so the conversation back then was, hey, when you get this open, could we set something up where we have timed wildlife programs, in the lobby or outside, something like that. We were thrilled to hear that. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to reconnect with the Wildlife Center and have that. So please bring that up, or if you want me to come, I'm happy to come up.
Let me, I know a lot of the staff there.
Yep.
They're on the wall, they're on the Riverfest board. Amanda's past president, she's like number 2 there, I think now. And, so I will pursue that and see if I can set up a meeting. Probably after the first of the year.
Sure.
Holidays will be for everybody.
Exactly.
And we'll know a lot more about what we need as far as funding and,
Sorry, are you suggesting that they could be financial support?
I don't know, probably not
Okay,
financially, but as far as politically, and just, their network of people who would be very interested in supporting might be able to help us legislatively. I don't think they're in a position to, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I never broached that with Ed.
yeah. Typically, nonprofits don't like sharing their, everybody struggles getting money.
Exactly.
So, and then they're focused on their mission. So I think what you said was perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my thought about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I took to Ed. This is a tremendous win. This is just a win-win for everybody. Expanding raising your profile in the community and reaching through all the visitors that we will have that will come and see the work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that could help them with funding. So I think that message is still very valuable. So we do need to make this new executive. And
I'm sure you meet with Joe. I've met her, but not to have a conversation about this. Meg again, talk to her.
yeah,
We've been with her, just not this.
If we establish.
We need to, have you been there all?
I had not.
I could probably just look at meeting on that. Okay.
If we establish in the future, Joe, a collaborative relationship where they come and offer these kind of programs, my guess would be that their financial supporters. Because we underscore that collaboration with financial support.
I agree with that. That, parallels my observations of other, I mean, people like to hear back in Martinville where we help the Boys and Girls Club, for instance, that sort of thing. So we use those groups as part of, you know, our mission moment, so to speak. It really does ring a bell with people.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah.
And collaboration is a big plus. Big, and there's money.
Well, they could have a sponsored wildlife.
Yeah, that'd be a great sponsorship right there.
What's really? Just as an example. This is a theoretical.
I don't even think it needs to wait until the museum is built. If there's an opportunity for them to partner with us in the trailer.
Yeah.
Whatever we end up calling that, you know, for a program.
Yeah, they can come over.
Yeah.
For a while.
And for shows or whatever they, you know, whatever they want to do, bring over something animals.
And that's so convenient.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to really go anywhere.
3 blocks away.
That's all right. That's a win-win.
And for them, they could promote, you know, whatever they want to promote there. They can have a table. And
Down the road, why wouldn't you want your name on the wall of this museum as a partner?
That's all right.
Absolutely.
Like the universities, that's everybody else, and that can be dealt with on a fundraising basis down the road, with the building on. How much are you gonna pay to put your name up?
But I think it is different now that Ed is gone, or not gone, but moved aside. And
I think it's a new
so
day.
there may be, it is a new day.
New day.
Relationship.
Kirby's right, something you gain.
And I didn't want to do it too soon because, I mean, she's new, she's trying to get her feet on the ground and get herself, building her organization. So I'm sure she has been busy. So I think the timing is right for us to approach her.
Anything else for open discussion? I'll just mention that, you may already know that next year will be the 250th anniversary of the independence of the nation. So the museums are participating in exhibits. And Joe, you want to say a little bit about what the museum's doing? I think it's in February, right?
Well, it's a year-long thing, so obviously we're not a history museum, but we did come up with an angle to be a participant because all state agencies were asked. So internally, we're calling it TJ26. It's everything about Thomas Jefferson and his contributions to the natural world. So we are putting a small lobby exhibit up the first week of January. And it's going to tee people up to learn more about Jefferson. And we did procure a first edition copy of Notes in the State of Virginia that he wrote. And so we're going to be displaying that for the first time, which is really cool. A private donor provided the opportunity for that. We're even buying a special archival case for it. So that's going to be kind of a cool thing. And of course, he had his feud. The reason he wrote Notes in the State of Virginia was his feud with French naturalist Buffon. He's got a name this long, right? So yeah, it's really fascinating looking at both of their perspectives, both the correct and the incorrect, and so forth. So we're going to introduce people to that, and then as they go around the museum, there'll be little vignettes that they can explore Jefferson's legacy with. On February 21st, and all the invitations, if you want to come down to March, so we're going to have a special Thursday night invitation kind of member celebration of Thomas Jefferson and his contributions to the natural world. So we have a Barham College scholar who's going to come and give a very light kind of 15-minute overview of some aspects of Jefferson's life. There's going to be plenty of food and drink. There's a master brewer in Martinsville who's making corn beer off of Thomas Jefferson's original recipe. That will have, and a few other things that will kind of bring us into that realm of celebrating the 250. And then in the fall, one of the other events is we have an artist who's well known in Appalachia who had a Virginia Humanities grant to basically follow Notes in the State of Virginia, go to all the places that Jefferson explored. She created artwork that was inspired by all that. Now, all the artwork's been sold, unfortunately, but she will be bringing representative artwork that way. We haven't planned all that out, but it's going to be a nice addition.
Can you guys have specimens from the 1700s back in the collection? seen
I
some.
know the oldest specimen that I can think of is 1840s. That's a biological specimen.
This sounds like 17.
I'd like to know about that, right?
Isn't there a ton of spots of bones somewhere? No,
Okay, all right, so the other thing,
It is Thomas Jefferson, tons, box of bones at Noah Bowen's.
Left hand here.
so I will not remember the whole story, but of course, there have been several iterations of natural history museums in Virginia before ours ever came around. They would start and get closed down, and eventually they end up at UVA, where they had a beautiful natural history museum, and someone decided they didn't like it, so they actually had a mastodon, they destroyed it. The rumor has it that either that one or another one was actually collected by Meriwether Clark out by actually Meriwether Lewis, thank you, right across the river from Cincinnati in Kentucky, and brought back to Virginia. And apparently, for the longest time at UVA, in one of the departments, there was a box that was called Tom's Bones, and it was all these mastodon bones. There is a picture of Nobo as our founding director, 1980, whatever, unpacking that stuff and holding Thomas Jefferson's scapula or whatever it was, mastodon scapula. And then nobody really knows what happens after that, because it went back to UVA as part of the UVA museum branch that died in the 90s. And Adam has come across a bunch of bones that we think are those bones, and we're still trying to chase down a few leads. So in other words, one of the things that we're doing is we're looking at the chemical composition of the remaining matrix, the crud on the outside of the bones, and see if that chemically matches up with what's the state park there in Kentucky? Is it Big Lick? Big Lick State Park?
Looks out there. Big Sandy.
Big Sand. It is something like Big Lick.
Yeah, there's a big one.
But anyway, so we still have a few more things to work out before I'm confident saying that we know for a fact these were the bones that were at Monticello and made this big leap around the Commonwealth before anything.
By the way, over at the gift shop in Monticello, you can buy seed packets of Thomas Jefferson's heirloom vegetables, farms.
Really?
But that would be kind of neat if you could procure some, sell those, or have them available for sale. Or maybe even get the gift shop set up a little stand or something that it could sell.
They put out a catalog every year, which is up on the mailing list. So, yeah, they got all kinds of cool stuff over there. But it
And if
looks
you don't know, on campus at UVA grounds, when you're at the rotunda and you're looking out towards the corner area, to the right, there's a building that says natural history on it. It has a bunch of famous natural history.
Now, what would be the possibility to of partnering with the library? And since you're doing this display down there, of doing something here that builds the Virginia history. Just chew on that. I mean, I was trying to think where would be a space we could do that here. If we had a trailer here, that might be a possibility of opening at selected days in February or whenever. But absent that, they already have a big display there. So it makes sense to me that we build on that.
Yeah, the one limiting factor is going to be what specimens or artifacts you want to put up there. You know, so let me get that thought.
Sure.
One of the things that we are putting up is that the version that we purchased does have a fold-up insert map, which is older than you don't want to keep unfolding. So we did unfold it once and scan it, so we have a high-resolution scan of it, and we print. Well, company has printed it. I haven't seen it yet, but a big version of it that's going to be the backdrop for it. So I think we have some visual assets. You know, as a museum guy, I hate to put something out without, you know, the real thing, the power of the real. But let me give it some thought, because we've got a lot to wrap it.
Well, and I don't think it has to be massive.
Right.
You know, I just think it needs to be whatever's going on, and it's good billing for them. It's excellent billing
Does anybody know if there are VA 250 activities going on locally?
We're doing something, but I couldn't tell you what.
Okay, all right. Oh, you're collaborating. You have a with song or.
Yeah. I'm totally out of the.
I understand. I understand. I was privy to some emails.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So what museum do we have on that? Oh, yeah, okay.
There's specimens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that might be another milestone.
That Russell Museum goes,
I mean, I'm into the blue, you know what I'm saying? But
Well, maybe the partners of the Heritage.
The Heritage Museum is the floating chain area, back a large room. And they have more than enough room back there for a Virginia Museum of Natural History case. There's some opportunity up there. I'm not sure who's running it right now, but there's opportunities for something up there that doesn't necessarily have to rotate, except rotate what's in the case. But you might be able to find a Virginia Museum of Natural History place.
Right.
Against one wall in that museum up there. We'll talk to them at some point in time.
And it's a pretty nice space to be
It's a,
able to.
it's a large
Oh,
space.
yeah.
Very large, and they have devoted that to rotating exhibits, but a lot of their rotating exhibits have not filled that space. And so there's an opportunity there to put something in there that says Virginia Museum.
I forgot.
Not, obviously, we only have one. We're gonna be displaying our book in 2026, but there's nothing wrong to say go to the Heritage Museum. I mean, we can transport the special case and the book and have sort of after the fact. Yeah.
So they sell books up there anyway. Major part of history.
Right.
And they got their little book markets, right?
If I'm not mistaken, is that some Virginia also included through Waynesboro? Don't they?
You know, I've heard that, but I haven't read that, so that's a good question. Natural,
Yeah. But I think it came.
we know you got as far as the top of the ridge up here, for sure. Past that,
Spent the night into General White. What are you talking about?
All right, anything else? I think it was a very good meeting and wish all of you happy holidays and we'll see each other in January. Okay, excellent.